one thing that makes the season so special is the rivalry games. And we got Jeremiah Smith talking his cash the other day to The Athletic, saying, I promise I'm not going to lose to Michigan. Paraphrasing, but basically what he said. And it got me thinking. One, I love this from Jeremiah Smith. I love this edge. I think Ohio State, quite frankly, needs more of this edge. But why has Ohio State lost the last 4 times against Michigan? Why? What's it going to take for them to get over the hump? And I started thinking more about that. And I arrived at this thought that I think for the most part, the Michigan-Ohio State game has been, in some ways and maybe in most ways, I think, about psychology for Michigan relative to what Ohio State has put forth on those final Saturdays of the regular season. We'll unpack it right now. Before we do that, though, make sure you are subscribed. Ohio State fans, I'm going somewhere with this, all right? So make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're subscribed. Michigan fans, same deal. Make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're subscribed. Appreciate y'all being a part of the show. So I think the easy thing that a lot of people will point to, and we've done it on this show too, is, Michigan's been the more tough team, right? That's kind of the thing, JD, isn't it? Yeah, 100% has been part of it. Michigan, there's no way to say it or to not say it. They've been tougher than Ohio State, I would say, each of those last four times they beat them. Feels pretty fair to say. But I think when you look at the toughness, you also got to look at what Michigan has had psychologically. Michigan, to me, has been the more poised team in each of those wins over Ohio State the last 4 years. Just look at the halftime scores for Michigan against Ohio State. 14-13 Michigan in 2021. Final score, 42-27. Poured it on in the second half. 2022, Michigan's down by 3 in Columbus. We were there, 20-17. Also, Ohio State is stonewalling at that point. Michigan's run game. Final score, 45-23. 2023, Michigan's up 10-14, the largest lead of anybody in the last 4 years in this game. Finished the game with a 30-24 win. That was the drive where Kyle McCord threw a pick, and they were driving to try and get it done, but throws a pick, and that's the end of the game. 2024, it's tied 10-10. Final score in a barn burner in a shootout. Michigan goes up and wins 13-10. So why are we talking about this? I'm talking about this because in each of those spots, both of those teams have gone into the locker room and had to figure out their adjustments. That's one part of it. But also they've had to try to rally the troops, find some momentum, find some juice, and have the presence to manage that moment. Because for both sides, it means everything. That's the thing that I think is funny about the discussion with Ohio State is people saying, oh, well, it doesn't mean enough to them. Ryan Day doesn't get the rivalry. They got to recruit more guys from Ohio. Some of that has some merit. Some of that I think is just a little bit ridiculous. It's not a matter of how much it means to Ryan Day and Ohio State. It's not a matter of how important that game is to them. It's they get to that game, and in multiple spots now, we've seen them, whether it's a toughness thing or whether it's more a poise thing, play a little bit tight. You're telling me that in 2022, in the second half, when you're in a spot where you're up 3 points, Michigan holds you to 3 points in the second half when you have C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. on your offense. You score 3 points in the second half. I don't think it's a talent thing. Call toughness if you want to call it toughness. I think it's a poise thing. I think it's a ability to reset and have that killer instinct in the second half to go get it done. Ohio State, for my money, has lacked that. And Michigan, quite frankly, they've majored in that. And when you look to what's going to happen here in 2025, both of these teams, I think, psychologically, are at a fascinating spot. Because for Ohio State, you had a lot of teams over the course of the last, call it 2, maybe 3 years of these 4 losses that have kind of had to live with the Michigan loss for a while. And sometimes that can be a good thing. I don't think it was a good thing for Ohio State. Like Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, a lot of those guys, they had never beaten Michigan. And every single year, it's like they're getting tight, they're getting worked up. It's about beat Michigan, beat Michigan, beat Michigan. And then you get to that game, and what happens, and it's, a total fallout. But Ohio State, yeah, Jeremiah Smith lost to Michigan one time. He's not living with the 2021 game. Julian Sang was on the roster when they lost last year to Michigan, but he's not living with what last year was. C.J. Donaldson, the running back for Ohio State, transferring in from West Virginia, he's not living with the Michigan losses. And I think some of that can just be a turning of the page for Ohio State and be refreshing, rejuvenating, and just quite frankly, a resetting of perspective for that locker room, for that team, is I think what they need. Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator, he's never lost to Michigan. Just got to Columbus 15 minutes ago. Being able to turn the page and reset psychologically for this Ohio State football team, I think is going to be absolutely crucial for them winning the game here in 2025. The playoff run, too, we'll mention that. The fact that they lost to Michigan, picked themselves up by their bootstraps, made a college football playoff run to a national championship where they were clearly the best team in America. Give Ryan Day credit. Locker room for sure gets credit too, but like Ryan Day being able to get his team in order, get his team dialed in from that game, like that was, I think, the toughest, I'll say this, probably the toughest stretch of any coach that had to endure last season. Like that was the toughest 4-game stretch any coach had to deal with. Regular season, postseason, doesn't matter. After a loss like that, give Ryan Day credit for his team being able to reset. So you have that part of it. Then also in the same token, like the leadership for Michigan, Sherrone Moore's 2-0 against Ohio State, but like there's no Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant or Donovan Edwards, the people that I think were just used to beating Ohio State over the course of the last 4 years. A lot of those key figures are gone. So is Bryce Underwood able to step in and take up that mantle and that pressure and the weight of the Ohio State game? Same thing with Justice Haynes. Same thing with Donovan McCulley. Like all these new faces, are they up for the task? It's a reset for them too, but it's going to be, I think, a little bit of a, hey, do you understand why we beat them the last couple of years? What it took, the extra stuff that wasn't talent that allowed us to beat Ohio State if you're Michigan. So to close, this rivalry still means everything to both sides. I know the playoff expanded. I know there's a chance we get this game more than once, which I'd be here for that. But like this game for both sides still means everything. Doesn't matter who won the last 4 years. Doesn't matter how many times it came down to the final play or whatnot. Like this still means everything to both fan bases, and that's what I think makes college football a touch unique. You know, the rivalries are just special, man. Very, very special.